Hello, YouTube! And today we're talking about Doctor Strange. One of the most technically difficult characters, I think, in Dice Throne, but one of the most rewarding to play. He's also one of the most frustrating. And culminate all that together, and then you've got this dude. This dude right here. Now, full disclosure, like always in the beginning of the videos, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I am not the end-all, be-all on absolutely how to play these characters, and especially this one. He is complicated as all get out, but he is very fun and very good once you get the hang of him, and very rewarding, like I said. So his whole shtick is he has these spell cards that he can combo with. He's kind of like Wolverine in that way, where he has like a different mechanic than most, where he has special cards in the deck that aren't upgrade cards, and neither are they like cards where you play for things like that you pay to play for things to happen. They're actually just cards that you get for free. In Wolverine's case, most of them you like discard and then use them for the effects. But for this guy, they're things that just things happen. So let me pull these out real fast. Things just sort of happen when you activate them on like preparing a spell. So like a lot of his abilities say prepare spell, stuff like this, cast a spell, prepare spell. Then there's like recycle spell or return spell from the discard pile back onto the top of the book. And here is your book. This is like your little area where you have all your spells. So each of these has something different about them that they do. Can I get it to focus? I'm not sure. There we go. So I have to just be about that distance. So here's one, Magi of Econ. Magi of Econ. Here's one, the Flames of... Oh, man. These are all weird words. So you'll have... And I'm reading them upside down, so you have to, like, bear with me here. The Flames of Fultine. Yeah, I think that's your starter one. That's the one you always start with. Fangs of Farala. Sure. Yeah, you guys could tell I've passed English. Chains of Kraken. Is that Kraken? Chains of Kraken? Is that how you say Kraken? Is there two K's in Kraken? Probably. Bolts of Jiminy Criminy. Balthak. Here we go. Rings of Ragador. Half of these words got to be made up, man. They ain't real. Vapors of Valtor. Man, look at all these double letters. Mists of Morpheus. Yeah. And Winds of Watum. So these are all throughout your deck except for the flame one. And then you'll draw into them, and when you draw into them, they go in like your upkeep pile thing, your prepare pile or your book, and then you can prepare spells, and you do all this situation with this guy. Okay, this is going to be so this strategy breakdown is going to be very quick because I'm only going to be reviewing his board and like the likelihood of how you roll for him. He has an odd board layout, and then I am planning on going back through a lot of these characters and then doing like deep dive strategy guides, like how to play cards out of the deck, out of your hand, like the cards that you play, rather than just the upgrade cards and things. So he actually doesn't have any upgrade cards, so this is going to be relatively a quick review here. So it's just to get you familiar with him and to kind of teach you the basics. So I just walked through the spells for you. So we'll just go and read this off. So spells have to be prepared and then cast. Okay. So when you prepare a spell, place the spell on your passive ability, which is this right here. So you're preparing it and you place it here, right? Okay, so the book of, another word, Vishanti. I think that's what this is. That's your passive ability. Then perform the prepare effect. So each spell has prepare effect. That's at the top here. And focus, please. That's at the top here. Prepare here, and then they have a cast effect at the bottom there. So each spell has one of those. And then, so back to this, and when you cast the spell, you may choose any card from your book of Vishanti and perform the cast effect. So the way you do this is with your abilities. Like I said, you prepare. This one has prepare. These ones have cast. This one has prepare and then cast. Your ultimate has prepare and then cast, and then so on and so forth. This one has cast. Yeah, so this is the whole engine with this guy, and he, like I said, he's hard to pick up at first and difficult, but he has a lot of cool combos that you can do. So he's kind of like, he's very similar to what am I thinking of? Who's the guy with Rotter? Krampus, if you guys have ever played him. For those of you who are familiar with that, but not exactly the same. So let's just keep moving on here. So that's his whole shtick. Okay, let's just go over Crimson Band. It's a negative status effect, so cannot play cards during your next roll phase. A player with this is affected with this token may not play cards during their next roll phase. So they can play cards during like upkeep and main phase, but just not during the roll phase. So they basically can't play dice mod cards. Is sort of what this means. And then at the conclusion of that roll phase, discard the token. So you can only stack up one of these at a time when you're going against people. So it's good for those people who like to. The high economy characters that like to use a lot of dice mod to like force themselves into an ult or something like this. He actually counters those characters decently well if you're able to get this applied pretty often, especially late in the game when people are trying to close the game out and stuff. So, Premonition. So you can stack this up to 3 times, and it has a couple of like levels of effect here. So draw more cards than you normally would during your income phase is sort of like the thing. So a player with these tokens may spend them once per turn during their income phase to activate one of these following effects. So if you spend 1 token, you can draw 2 cards and instead of 1. And if you discard 3, you can draw 3 cards instead of 1. So when activated, one of the draw cards must be placed on either the top or the bottom of your deck. So when you draw your extra cards or card, you can either decide to keep it on the top and then draw it next turn, or you can throw it and cycle it onto the bottom. This is very important for him because you are searching for your in your deck, you are searching for all your spell cards. Having your spell cards, as many as you can, get out in your book is very important with him. So that's your comboing effect. So that's what Premonition enables you to do. And then Deja Vu. So this is a really cool effect too. So it's a positive status effect. So you get to restart your offensive roll phase. So it's not exactly like a stun or a combo where they get to take another offensive roll phase. This is basically if you whiff, if you roll your dice and you don't get anything, you can go again and then try to get something is the primary use for it. Or if you do roll and get something that you don't like, you would just cancel out that, and technically you don't roll that or whatever, and then you can try to go for a different ability. That's basically what that is for. You can only have a stack limit of 1 for that. All right, so that is his tokens in a nutshell. It's all over the place. So his dice configuration is 1 and 2 are the Mandal. That's how you say that, sure. Mandala. 3 and 4 are the tomes, and then 5 is a mantle, and then 6 is the amulet. Okay, so he has a 2-2-1-1 dice face, which in my opinion, this is the hardest dice face to roll for. I would prefer the 3-1-1-1 or the 3-2-1 dice face configuration. The 2-2-1-1 is very hard to roll for, and that's why you have that Deja Vu token for him. So that's going to be a high priority, I think, for like your first few turns to make sure that you're able to really get what you need to get going. And so he is like. He has phases. He has distinct phases of what you need to do on your first few turns to get your engine rolling. And then once you get, a few spell cards, hopefully you actually start with spell cards in your hand. That will help a bunch. But once you get a few spell cards in your book, then you can kind of go off. And a lot of it depends on what spell cards you have in the first few, like what you draw into in the first few turns. It can really make or break how you play this character and if he does well or not. But nonetheless, let's go over his abilities. So Augury. So you're going to gain Deja Vu, deal 8 damage. So this is where you gain that redo thing. So this is a 3 or a 4, and then 2 6s. It's kind of a hard thing to roll. Anything with 2 6s is rough. All of his abilities are sort of like this. So Universal Awareness. So that's it's 4 of 3 or 4. All right, so that's kind of rough. This is almost like these are kind of like almost backup rolls to each other, but they're both good, right? They're both good. So this is purely your economy option, but also helps you with your spells. So you draw a card, gain Deja Vu, 2 premonitions, and then you can prepare a spell from your discard pile. This would be like the discard pile. Astral Incursion, so 1 of each, and then you deal 6 damage, and then roll 2 dice. So on a 1 or a 2, with this symbol here, you're going to add 3 damage, and it's only one instance of it. So if you have duplicates of this symbol on the 2 dice that you roll, you only add 3 damage. No matter how many symbols you roll of that. And then on a 3 or a 4, you gain 1 premonition. Same deal. It's not timed, so you only get one token. On a 5, you get the Crimson Bands, which we've talked about. That's good, but you can only inflict 1 anyway. So yeah. And then on a 6, you can cast a spell. So this is kind of his catch-all. You just do a little bit of everything. It's actually a decent damage option too, because more than likely you're going to basically be either dealing that extra 3 damage or gaining some premonition is kind of the average for this, obviously. because that's 4 dice out of the 6 combination of the combinations in order to, and you roll 2. So you're going to either getting 1, you'll probably getting 1 of those. So either the damage and a premonition, or you'll be getting 1 of them and then 1 of these down on the bottom there. So it's kind of how that averages. All right. So that's that. My camera is unfocused again. Let's try to keep it focused here. All right, moving on to his straights here. So deal 6 damage and cast a spell. This seems low at first until you start reading into the spells, and like I said, we're going to do that in a different video. This can actually be kind of good. Don't sleep on these, and these are going to be one of your more reliable roll options. And then his large straight is deal 9 and cast a spell. That's actually pretty strong, I think, but easily disruptible. Binding, so 2 1s or 2s and then 2 5s. Not, like I said, not easy roll objective. Inflict Crimson Bands and deal 9 damage. That's decent damage though. And then his mini ult, 4 6s, inflict Crimson Bands, deal 5 undefendable, prepare a spell, and then cast a spell and then cast a spell. Up to 2 spells, I'm sorry. So this says you get 3 effects from your spell from your deck here when you do Wand of Watoomb, 5 undefendable damage, and then the Crimson Bands or whatever. So his ultimate, All-Seeing Eye, 5 6s obviously. So look at the top cards of your deck, and then prepare up to 2 spell cards from among these cards. So this is an interesting mechanic. So you can pair 2 spells, and then you put the other cards back in any order, then deal 10 damage and cast up to 2 more spells. So this could actually be kind of a mid to weaker ultimate, in my opinion. That's how I've always interpreted it. Anyway, okay. Anyway, all right. So last thing is his Cloak of Levitation. So his defensive roll. You roll 2 dice, and then on a 1 or a 2, you deal 1 damage back. On a 3 or a 4, you're gaining a premonition. On a 5, you prevent 2, and then on a 6, you deal 3. You're going to be typically doing at least 2 things usually. So that, I will say, because he has this weird dice layout where it's kind of hard to roll for, his defense usually does 2 things for you, which is good. So there's that. His defense is kind of sneakily underrated. All right, now let me kind of show you how I roll for him, even though it's not, I don't know if this is really the optimal way or whatnot. I sort of go for his straight here, and then I kind of split the straight with Astral Incursion, and then also like Augury. I kind of try to split these 3 abilities when I'm rolling for him to have some sort of consistency, and then I see what I get after the first roll. You have to pivot early with him. You have to really know what you're trying to go for early. So let's just try to show you what I mean by this. So like here we already have a universal awareness, and then we could go for Augury if we want, but I think you take what you get with this character because he is hard to roll for. That's my opinion, though. I could be wrong. Those of you who know this character really well, I would love to hear from you guys. I did read the strategy guide on BoardGameGeek.com. There are strategy forum guides there. I will leave the link down below, as I do in most of my videos, if not all of them. It's heavy. It's a heavy guide. So look at that for those of you who are interested in this character. Don't let it deter you, because I actually think he is kind of a sleeping giant. Like, I don't know how much potential he does have for like tournament play, but I think he's probably high mid. I don't know if he's like top tier, but I think he could have the potential to reach top tier if people learn how to pilot him properly. And I know there's probably people who do. I think it's just he's so interesting and complicated that a lot of people just don't mess with it, because there's other characters that don't require the finicky-ness that he has. So anyway, that's a whole side tangent. But anyway, so there's that. I would use Universal Awareness, especially on like a first turn, to kind of just get everything rolling here. For those of you who really want that damage on the first turn, I guess you could go for Augury and then split it with this. So if you roll like a 1 and a 5, there's a chance to just get Astral Incursion. I would have kept a 4 there, actually. I would have kept 3 and 4. And then kind of went for there's also the straight, like I said. You can kind of split all 3 of these abilities at the same time when you're rolling for it, and then just fall back on whatever you get. Man, it really wants me just to have that. So that would be our first turn, and then I'll show you again. So if you do start off your roll with a bunch of these or these, like, then you always have this that you can kind of split with this a little bit, but you've got to be aware of the numbers that you have on your green symbol, because there's not really, it's far enough apart in number to where your small straight is not a fallback roll at that point. So be careful when you roll some weird combination of a bunch of cloaks and a bunch of greens and red symbols. That's usually the danger, like right now. So if we didn't have the small straight already, which we do, I would be a little concerned for my rolls here. So honestly, I would almost just take the small straight and not even go for the large, depending on the game state where it's at. If it's like, you know, getting close to the end and you kind of have to risk it for the biscuit, yeah, go ahead and then go for that too or whatever. Yeah, so there's that. Let's just keep showing you some different dice combinations. So here's one of each kind, so you do have that. So he's not horrible, and in fact, that's actually a large straight. So this is actually something that maybe you'll have to incur. What do you want to do? Would you rather have a large straight, or would you rather do this? It's honestly, it's about the same. They average out to be about the same. It depends on what you want secured. So basically, the large straight is effectively just getting this ability and then rolling a 1 or 2 and a 6. It's the same exact damage numbers. So if you want to have that guaranteed, go for the large straight. It might get messed with. But if you want something outside of that, I guess, then you could go for this and just see what happens, what you get on the roll. So there's that to consider. Anyway, I think I pretty much showed you everything I can with this character. I have not played him a whole lot. So here's one of each again. So you can kind of look at, this one's even kind of splitting. You might be able to go for binding if you want to do that, like pull these two out, but you do already have this. So I'm have not been really whiffing much. I haven't been getting a lot of like one symbol per se. Like usually that's when you kind of get screwed if it's not one of these. If you just get like a lot of, yeah, like this. Okay, perfect. All right, finally. I was gonna say, we're about to show you how he kind of whiffs here. So you kind of want to like, you're close to, whoops, this was a 2, if I can find it. Yeah, so you're sort of close to this. You need the red symbol, but you're also kind of close to this. How does the math work out? I don't actually know. So that's where you're gonna have to look at, and you don't have like a straight that's obvious. We don't have the 3 here, right? So now we're gonna have to like really decide what we want to do here. Obviously, we're gonna pull this one out and re-roll it. Do we want to just re-roll this, or do we want to try to re-roll this and this to try to like split this, and the straight? It's a possibility to do that. We can just kind of show you what would happen if you did take those 2 out and then do it. Okay, well, so we rolled for this and ended up getting it. And that's just sort of what happened there. So, and then if you get a bunch of reds like this, like let's say you have like something like this, then like, holy crap, you're kind of screwed. Like, oh no, what do I do? Do you pick them all back up and just re-roll them? Or do you hold these 2 and then go for this and that at the same time? Like, I actually think it's kind of dangerous to, that's a really dangerous first roll when you have a bunch of these here. Because you're not close to a straight, you're not close to any of that. You only have one symbol here. You're sort of pseudo close to this, but not really. So I don't know, man. If you see this on the first roll, dude, I don't know, guys. Do I roll them all? Do you hold 2? Do you hold 1? I don't know. Maybe hold 1? I don't know. I think you roll them all. I think you roll them all and then just see what you get here, I guess. I don't know. Unless you're really looking for damage and you need the damage numbers and you don't want to go for something like that. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below, guys. But this was it. This was my terrible guide for this character. But just to get get the brain working to see if you would like this character or not. He is very interesting. He is very cool. But I'm going to do some more research with him. I'll do more testing with him, and then we'll show a more advanced guide with him later on. So, but thanks for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.